How are you all doing out there, gang, in internet land? I hope you're all holding up well, even though your dreams of reaching inbox zero have been shattered by those Black Friday and Cyber Monday emails. Yes, we're all getting them at the moment. And for anybody that's interested in listening to tech podcasts, I'd love to introduce you to another one called We Got Your Mac. It's a dynamic podcast brought to you by the tech solutions provider SHI, and they delve into the world of Apple Mac adoption in the enterprise. And the hosts discuss incredible benefits and unique challenges that come with it. So tune into We Got Your Mac on your favourite podcast platform, or simply visit wegotyourmac.com. There's a wealth of episodes and valuable resources over there. Don't miss out on an opportunity to make more informed decisions when embracing the power of the Mac. And today, I've got a guest who is nothing short of revolutionary in the mental health care sector. His name is John Letter, and he's the CEO of Proem Behavioral Health, a company that is pioneering a tech-enabled approach to mental health care. And at a time where so many are struggling to find the appropriate care they need, especially during the holiday season where a lot of this stuff gets magnified, John's on a mission to empower healthcare providers with evidence-based clinical workflow software. But it's not just about technology. It's about humanizing tech to improve mental health care outcomes substantially. But enough for me. Buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Atlanta, where John is waiting to share his story. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, first, thank you very much for having me, Neil. I appreciate you taking the time to spend with me. I'm John Letter. I have the fortune of leading the team here at Proem Behavioral Health as the CEO.
Well, it's a pleasure having you on the podcast because I always try and get people thinking differently about technology and how it can change our lives, our work, and sometimes even world. And your company is a leading health and technology innovator. So can you share a little bit more about the behavioral health that you're doing here and some of the key challenges that you're looking to solve for the market by using your technology? Because it's fantastic what you're doing here.
Sure, and thank you. We're very excited about it. If you look at Proem Behavioral Health, we are a clinical workflow support software engine. A lot to swallow there, but simply put, we are the underpinning, the ability through technology to accurately and comprehensively screen populations for a majority of what has been diagnosed in the world as a mental illness. Then we have the ability to provide through what are called structured and semi-structured interviews, the ability to provide clinical decision support. So the ability for a provider to, based on what the Bible is or sort of the protocol within behavioral health, it gives them the ability to say that this patient has met criteria for this disorder or these disorders. And then ultimately, we are helping those patients that are in care and the providers that are providing that care with the ability and the visibility to measure outcomes of treatment. So if you could imagine when you're being treated for a mental illness, there are ebbs and flows, ups and downs. So what we have the ability through technology to do is to follow patients, as we call it, or measure outcomes of the treatment. And if treatment plans are working, keep going. If they're not, very quickly adjust as necessary as a provider. So the challenges that we're solving is the disparate nature of healthcare, particularly in America, but in other parts of the world. In behavioral health, it's very different than treating someone with that needs an MRI or someone that has a heart condition. Behavioral health is very complex. We're dealing with the mind. We're dealing with feelings, thoughts, emotions. It's very important to use what the experts would say to be the keys or the symptoms or what's the thoughts and feelings that people are having in order to properly diagnose them. So that's really what we're trying to solve for providers and patients.
So I guess the big question is, who is it that uses your technology and how do they come to know about it?
Yeah, sure. Coming to know about it is many ways. Things like this, marketing our website, which we hope to be able to provide later, us being at industry events and the like, and really, most importantly, through word of mouth. It is how people get to know about us, other customers that sort of are sources for us, referral sources that speak on our behalf. Those that use our technology are really three folks within the continuum of care for treating behavioral health. It's one, it's the clinician or the provider that's providing the care, the expert. It could be someone on their staff that's helping to provide ancillary services or care on behalf of that provider, and then the patient themselves, so that the patient can interact and know that their treatment is working simply by reviewing what we call their dashboard.
And just to bring that to life a little, for people that are listening all around the world, how do people use your digital tools that your company provides? And is there any use cases you can share of how it's used in the world?
Sure. It's used around the world. Our technology used around the world. We actually, as an example, started with a country in Eastern Europe to provide our technology within their national health system. So that would be sort of an application in the real world of properly screening patients early in a proactive manner, a preventive manner, versus sort of what do I do when someone shows up into the emergency department at the hospital. So it's used around the world. It is a web-enabled tool, so it can be done via secure texting. It can be done in the privacy of someone's home in advance of meeting with their provider the first time or ongoing therapy. And it can also be provided, inside the four walls of a clinic or a hospital, administered by a provider on behalf of the patient or along with the patient.
Just to further understand the scale of the problem we're talking about here, what sort of challenges do the users of this technology face, and how is this helpful to them in achieving their healthcare mission and patient care goals too, of course?
Yeah, for sure. I would say that probably the biggest challenge that we face, certainly in America, but more broadly, is time. Time is, we're pressed. We're in a situation with treating mental illness that we know that we need to treat it because it's become so commonplace, unfortunately and fortunately. But it's the time to properly get to what those that are providing mental health services do, and that's treat their patient. So we're solving through technology, this asynchronous or the ability to sort of achieve input and reporting from a patient that allows for what would typically happen in an office, allows for it to happen prior to that visit with all of the answers for that provider so that they can focus on treating the patient versus taking, hours, if not sessions, to uncover what is really happening with the patient so that they can really ultimately get about treating the patient in an efficacious manner within the matter of minutes versus hours. So that's where technology really helps.
And I love how you're using technology to improve treatment for patients here and healthcare providers as well. And as someone that's right in the heart of this space, you must have one eye on so many different tech trends continuously. And we are at that time of year where we started to make predictions about what tech trends might dominate 2024. Right. Are there any tech trends that particularly excite you at the moment?
Yes. Because, again, as I mentioned earlier, you don't go and have an X-ray or an MRI or a blood test to determine someone's mental illness, what's going on. It's done through subjective questioning, which is very, very accurate. But there's a lot of exciting technology that excites us around the use of objective data. And how do you use objective data in the procurement of care to ensure that it's working for the patient? So, for us, it's the ability to combine what is the subjective historic nature of treating mental illness, which is extremely important, with the objective measures that a patient may not necessarily be seeing or feeling, but exist. An example, for instance, someone may think that their symptoms are getting better, yet you notice that they haven't been active. So the ability to say, hey, how's it going? Notice, you haven't been up and around. What's going on, to sort of, and this is just an example of what's out there. The ability to combine the two to provide a more holistic view of a patient, not only treating the symptoms of the disorders, but how that treatment is affecting them in real life. That's the stuff that excites us.
And turning the focus to you just for a moment, I mean, you're an entrepreneurial leader who's scaling a high-growth company. Why do you see it's important to align passion for a topic like mental health and use technology to grow it as a solution? I'd love to find out more about what motivates you here.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and one that I love because we are very passionate. Our mission is to ease the pain caused by mental illness. And as I've told people, if you don't have a passion for helping people, one, you shouldn't be in healthcare. And in particular, in the mental health space, we're finally at a place as a country and the world where mental illness is something that we've got to grapple with and understand, and it's less stigmatized than it has in the past. And the thing about technology that excites me as its application to behavioral health and mental illness is the ability to really uncover things very quickly, so that the patient isn't going through the washing machine. Neil, historically, it takes 11 years to get a diagnosis right. 11 years. So turning that into minutes means saving lives, frankly. And that's a passion that me as an entrepreneur, we as a company, are embracing wholeheartedly, the ability to help people get the care that they need and the right care that they need the first time.
And of course, mental health overall has reached epidemic proportions. And even though there are something like 4,000 miles between us today, I suspect we've both got many, many stories around the impact of mental health that we've seen in our families, friends, immediate surroundings, communities. We've all got stories around this. And it seems that more innovation is needed in this space in order to meaningfully change, or in order for meaningful change to be made quickly. So what advice do you have for any maybe aspiring entrepreneurs or startup founders listening, wanting to address these challenges faced by both healthcare workers and people who are directly in need of mental health services?
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point about also realizing those that are treating our healthcare workforce is a really important thing here, because they too are humans.
Yeah.
And we as humans deal with these things. My advice would be, and this was advice given to me a long time ago when I got into sort of the startup entrepreneurial world, and that was to focus, listen to your customer. And in our case, it's the patient, it's the provider, it's those that are providing care on behalf of the provider and the patient. Listen to what they're telling you, because they will give you the answers. Far too many times we, as entrepreneurs, believe we know what the answer is. We have a tendency to follow the shiny penny, right? So for me, it's really important to focus on what is it that I can do as an entrepreneur if I'm building, which is needed, more and more meaningful technology and innovation within mental health care. What is it that I am trying to solve? What are the pains that I'm solving for? And the best place that you find that is by talking to your constituents, talking to your customers. They'll tell you what you need. And then follow that passion and do whatever it takes if you believe within your capacity to solve that need for them.
And as I said a few moments ago, it's such an important topic now, and the the process of using technology to accurately screen, test, and measure treatment success for those suffering from mental illness. So important. And I'm truly grateful that you took the time to come on here, share your story and the impact you're making through technology. And I'm going to see if there's something we can do for you now, because some of the biggest names in business, VC funding and tech have either been guests or listened to this podcast. So if I was to ask you, is there a person you'd love to have a private breakfast or lunch with? Who would it be and why? Because he or she might just be listening. We'll see what we can manifest together. But who would you choose?
Wow, that's a good question. So I could go across the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Most interesting people to those in business, but there are two people that I would say. Can I say two?
Yeah, why not? Let's shoot for the moon. Go for it.
Perfect. Yeah. So I would love to sit down and have breakfast with Warren Buffett, simply because of the timeless nature of the things that he and Berkshire have been able to do over the years, and the principled approach that he has taken to investing and companies, and taking, the long view on things. Far too many times in business today, it is the shiny new penny. And, I would love to spend time with him just to pick his brain for an hour. Like, what is it that you see? And then what is it that you would see in behavioral health? And I would say the other one, because of his experience and current pursuits, would be Bill Gates. And I would ask Bill Gates, how does he see? How can we help? How does he see technologies interface within the current healthcare system for treating mental illness, and then into the future? What is it that he would share from his experience to apply technology in new and innovative ways? I would love to have those conversations if possible.
Wow, love it. Well, we've sent it out into the universe. Let's see what we can manifest together. All I ask is you remember to report back if something does materialize.
I will.
And for anyone listening that just wants to find out more information about anything we talked about today, maybe even contact your team, what's where would you like to point everyone listening?
Sure. I think the easiest way to find out more about us is just go to our website, www.proem, that's PROEM Health, HEALTH.com, proemhealth.com. That's probably a great way to connect with us, find out more about what we're doing. We're always open to suggestions, particularly from users, and users are patients and providers. So we're always open to new and innovative ways to do things.
Well, I'd absolutely love how you're leveraging tech and working in amazing ways to shift the care of mental health for healthcare through this app-based approach, improving outcomes. Incredibly inspirational. So thank you so much for just taking the time to sit down and share your story and the great work you're doing and how you're leveraging technology. Thanks again.
Thank you, Neil. I appreciate you taking the time for me.
So in today's discussion, we unearth the enormous potential that lies in harnessing technology for improving mental health outcomes. And while tech-enabled care isn't a one-size-fits-all, and I would never pretend that it is unquestionably a potent tool in overcoming the barriers to effective and timely mental health care. So I want to thank John for coming on the show today, sharing his insights. And remember, technology isn't just about bits and bytes. It is about real-world impact, thinking bigger, solving real problems. And when used correctly, it can catalyse transformative change in areas that matter most, such as mental health. That's why I was so glad to get John on the podcast today. So please, everybody listening, I hope this conversation inspired you somewhat today to keep innovating, keep problem solving, and most importantly, keep pushing the boundaries of what technology can achieve. And on that positive note, I'm going to walk off into the sunset now. So thank you so much for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.